the member for Shellharbour and Opposition Deputy Whip.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I am delighted to speak on this debate regarding the Securing New South Wales Steel Industry Bill. Speaker, this bill is a very simple one, and it provides a mandate for Australian standards in our publicly funded works. It holds developers using taxpayers' funds accountable to our workers, and it ensures the progress that it makes is clear and available to the public. On this side of the House, Speaker, we will not concede to the false and the wild accusations and the statements that have been made by those opposite. This bill is in no way a limit to our economic development or threat to our state's growth, as the government would have you believe. I will say it is a way of ensuring that there's one more thing that this government can't sell off to the highest bidder. I will say that this bill that puts workers, families and communities first, and I will say that this bill is a bill that our state needs. This bill, Speaker, finally prioritises the security and the stability of our workers, the quality of our public infrastructure and the livelihoods of workers in the Illawarra. And it's about time that the workers of the Illawarra felt that they were being afforded the respect that they deserve in this House. And the member for Kiama should be very careful not to insult these workers any further. Our steelworkers have found his behaviour in this House to be both disgraceful and insulting, and they've made these feelings well known. In fact, they have written to him directly. Arthur Rorris, the Secretary of the South Coast Labor Council, wrote an open letter to the member for Kiama on behalf of his colleagues, and this letter was published in the Illawarra Mercury on the 20th of February this year. In this letter, these workers highlight the member for Kiama's silent agreement with the shameful comments made by one of his colleagues. Mr Rorris writes, and I quote, "To suggest, as he did, that the crisis facing the steel industry is due to the laziness and lack of productivity in the workforce suggests that he must have access to some alternative facts, to those that the BlueScope Steel CEO, the unions and the international steel industry leaders have been relying on. Or does the New South Wales Liberal government really believe that the crisis of overproduction of steel and the international glut is just fake news?" Speaker, he goes on to say, "You must appreciate our disappointment and anger that your government can't protect the jobs in the way that you are capable of protecting in the interest of big business, banks and corporations." In his letter, Arthur echoes the thoughts of many in our region. Our workers are at risk of being left behind. This government simply does not prioritise the livelihoods of our workers, or if they do, it comes a distant second to the interests of big business and corporations. The member for Kiama should be absolutely ashamed of his embarrassing attempts to hide his own disregard for the workers in his region, that they aren't working. And they won't be echoed by anyone on this side of the House, Speaker, I can assure you of that. This bill is truly a community-inspired bill that, like our steel, made in the Illawarra. It represents the coming together of a range of interest and political parties to help secure the sustainability of steel making in the Illawarra. This bill is an opportunity to make history. A mandate of at least 90% use of Australian-made steel in publicly funded infrastructure projects has not been achieved in our nation's history, and it is overdue. This House should note the concept of mandating the use of local produced resources in publicly funded projects is not a new one outside of Australia. There is an emerging trend internationally which has seen workers' rights and livelihoods being protected while simultaneously ensuring the production of quality infrastructure. Speaker, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my Illawarra colleagues, the member for Kira and the member for Wollongong, in joining me in the tireless fight for the steel workers in our region. Those opposite have seen fit to oppose this bill, and we know that they will. But those opposite have seen to it that our fight will be long and it will be tough. But I can assure you of this, we will ultimately prevail. It is with great pride and determination that I commend this bill to the House.